Never heard that. So I can't verify that in any way. They say there was a second shooter. This guy files, and who knows? I don't know that. But I know we were 100% involved in Oswald's hit.
How directly was your father with this plan, involved with this plan?
He knew about it, 100%, because he was one of the guys that hated the Kennedys.
Before it happened?
Yes, yeah. He told me afterwards. He said, I'd have killed him myself. Yeah, he said, Bobby, you know the story why he believes Bobby Kennedy put him away?
No.
Okay, my dad's in the Stork Club, very famous place in Manhattan, right? Costello owned a piece of it. He's there one night, Marilyn Monroe walks in. Frank says, you want to meet Marilyn? He says, yeah, why not? He meets Marilyn. They have an affair, right? They have an affair. Now he meets my mother. My mother was a coat-check girl there. She was 16 years old. He falls in love with my mother. He leaves Marilyn. Marilyn's in bed with Robert F. Kennedy. According to her, she called out my father's name while they're doing that thing in bed. From that point on, Robert Kennedy gets on the phone with Hoover and says, who's this guy, Sonny Francis? Lock him up. My father swears to that story. I said, come on, Dad. He says, I swear to her. And you know why I kind of believe it? He wouldn't tell me that until my mother passed away.
Wow.
He said, I can tell you this now because I would never disrespect your mother.
Wow.
But let me tell you why. Because I said to him one day, he was in prison again on one of his violations. And I said, Dad, I don't want to hurt your ego. I says, but why? My dad was the John Gotti of his day. I mean, they came after him. But like, forget it. If there was social media, you wouldn't have known about anybody else but my father. That's how big it was back then, right? Every newspaper, everything, right? I said, Dad, not for anything. I don't want to hurt your ego, but why you? I mean, there were other guys. Joe Colombo was there, Carlo Gambino. They didn't bother these guys. Why did they bother you? He said, I never want to tell you this while your mother was alive, but now I can tell you. And he told me that story. And I said, you know what, Dad? I think there's some truth in this. I think you're telling me the truth. He said, why would I lie? He said, I would never tell you when your mother was alive. He said, that rat, Robert F. Kennedy, came after me because he was jealous of me with Marilyn.
Wow.
And found out afterwards, Marilyn really dug my dad. Really did. And she was hit by the mob too. No question.
She was killed by the mob too?
Absolutely.
Because she slept with your father?
Yes. That was no. That was another thing that we did a favor to the Kennedys. Because she was very upset with them because they jilted her and she was going to start talking about certain things. There's a whole story behind that. Who visited her first that night? Who dropped the pills there? Trust me. I mean, look. When we knew how to do things, we knew how to clean things up. And another thing in that life, you kill somebody, you don't brag about it. I was taught this. My dad says, if you and I commit a crime, 10 seconds after it's done, if you ask me about it, I say, what are you talking about? What's the reason to talk about it ever again? That's how you get yourself in trouble. He used to hold up a phone. He used to say, this isn't a phone. This is a cop for me and you. Don't talk on a phone. So you don't brag about things like that unless you're a jackass. Some of these thugs on the street, they don't know any better. But guys with integrity in that life, you don't ever talk about this. It was just the opposite. And they weren't doing it as a badge of, oh, we killed, that rat Kennedy, he destroyed us, he got, they said it in that way, not that they were bragging about it, but that they ruined us, the Kennedys. And we, this is what we had to do. So it was totally the opposite of the mentality in that life. There was no reason for people to say that. So 100% you can imagine. And the same with Marilyn Monroe.
Wow.
It's another favor done to the Kennedys and we got screwed on.
So you did that favor for the Kennedys and then they screwed the mob.
Yeah.
And then that's when the mob went after Kennedy.
Yes. That's when they agreed to work with, listen, the CIA has worked with us how many times before? They worked with Luciano.
Wow.
Who brought the Allies into Sicily and allowed them to land there. It was Luciano that set that up.
That's right.
That's why they released them and deported them, okay? Second time, they were going to kill Castro in Cuba. They came to us. There was a whole plot to poison him. Didn't work, but they came to us. Another guy, Greg Scarpa, the state went to him to find out some people that were in a civil rights action. He went down and got the witnesses for them. So the government's come to us many times. This is not just, they came to us for the Kennedys. It wasn't an isolated incident. We opened up, you couldn't get through World War II. You couldn't get anything through the docks. We controlled all the unions. They had to come to us to bring everything in. And Lucky allowed it to happen.
When you look back at all the mobs, who's the greatest?
My personal greatest, the guy that I thought was the epitome of the mob leader, mob boss, was Frank Costello. He understood it. He was a business guy. They called him the prime minister. He had many political connections. He knew that violence was a last resort, and he wanted to make us into a business. We still had our principles and rules. Don't violate. But look, the famous expression out of there, we killed our own.